day. The rain poured down from the sky, creating muddy puddles all around. Inside a small unfinished house, Sarah and her two little kids, Tammy and Lily, were huddled together on the floor. The roof leaked and the rain made their little spot muddy and cold. Mommy,
I see you, my heart they beats. A lady of all men's dreams. You be the one where they
Hey guys, it was a bright and stormy day. The rain poured down from the sky, creating muddy puddles all around. Inside a small unfinished house, Sarah and her two little kids, Tammy and Lily, were huddled together on the floor. The roof leaked and the rain made their little spot muddy and cold. Mommy, I'm scared, whispered Lily, clutching her teddy bear tightly. Sarah hugged her children close. It's going to be okay, my loves. Just try to sleep. Tomorrow will be better. She said that, though she wasn't sure if that was true. Outside, Tony, Sarah's husband, stood under the porch, pretending there was nothing more he could do. He watched his family suffer in the mud, but told himself he had no other choice. Tony wasn't always this way. Once he had been a kind and caring husband, but now he had a secret. Tony had a girlfriend named Ella, and he was trying to impress her by pretending he didn't care about his family. Ella was someone Tony met at work. She was charming and promised Tony that she could help him get a better job. But there was a catch. Ella didn't like the idea of Tony having a family. Tony, if you really want to be with me, you will have to show me that your wife and kids aren't important, Ella said one day. Tony agreed, thinking he could have everything he wanted, but he didn't realize the pain he was causing Sarah and his children. Tony was a man who loved adventure. He lived in a city and had a job at the local radio station, but he was always looking for something new. He liked to try new things, even if they might get him into trouble. One day, Tony met Sarah. She was smart and hardworking. She had a good job and a nice apartment. Tony was attracted to her and wanted to be with her. Sarah, I love you, Tony said. Let's move to a new city and start a new life together. We will have a great future. Sarah loved Tony and wanted to build a family with him. She trusted him and believed in his dream. Okay, Tony, Sarah said, I will leave my job and move with you, but promise me we'll be happy together. I promise, Sarah, Tony said. We'll be very happy. Just trust me. So Sarah left her job and moved to the new town with Tony. They had two beautiful children together. At first, everything seemed perfect and okay. They found an apartment and Tony's job was paying the bills, though not all. But soon, things started to go wrong. Tony couldn't keep his job. He was always late or didn't show up at all, spending time with his new girlfriend Ella. He was placed on probation in the office. Tony, what's wrong? Sarah asked. Why can't you keep your job together? I don't know, Tony responded. I just get bored, I guess. Since Tony didn't have a full salary out of probation in his office, they couldn't pay their rent. They lost their apartment and had to move into a muddy, unfinished house on the outskirts of the city. Tony, this is not what I expected, Sarah said, crying. I thought we would have a nice life together. I know, Sarah, Tony said. I'm sorry, but we will get through this. Just trust me. But Sarah was not sure if she could trust Tony anymore. She felt like she had made a big mistake by leaving her old life behind. Tony, what are we going to do? Sarah asked. I don't know, Tony said, but we will figure something out. We always do. Sarah sighed and looked around the muddy house. She had no idea Tony was already seeing another woman, Ella. You guys, Ella wasn't just any girl. She was Sarah's schoolmate from high school. She had always felt like she lived in Sarah's shadow. But Sarah was the one who excelled in everything. She was the top student, the most popular girl, and the kindest person in the school. Ella, on the other hand, felt like she was just average. As they grew older, Ella's jealousy only grew stronger. She would see Sarah's post on Facebook showcasing her life with Tony and their kiss. Ella couldn't help but feel bitter. Why does she get everything even after school? Ella thought to herself, why can't I have a life like hers? Ella started plotting her revenge. She began flirting with Tony, sending him messages and compliments. Tony, who was already struggling with his own demons, was easily swayed. Hey Tony, Ella would say, you deserve so much better than Sarah. She's holding you back. Tony, blinded by Ella's promises, started to believe her. He began to treat Sarah poorly, ignoring her and dismissing her feelings. One day, Ella told Tony, if you really want to be with me, you have to show that you don't care about Sarah and the kids. Prove it. Tony, desperate to impress Ella, agreed. He started neglecting his family, leaving them to sleep in the muddy, unfinished house. Sarah, I don't care about this house, Tony said. I don't care about you or the kids. I only care about myself. Sarah was devastated. She couldn't understand why Tony was treating her like this. Tony, what's wrong with you? Sarah asked. Why are you being so cruel? But Tony just shrugged. I don't know, Sarah. I just don't care anymore. Ella watched from the sideline, a smug smile on her face. She was finally getting her revenge. Ha! Ella thought. Sarah's life is finally falling apart, and it's all thanks to me. But as Ella watched, Tony and Sarah's relationship crumbled. She started to feel a pang of guilt. Was this really what she wanted? Was hurting Sarah and her family really worth it? Ella pushed the thought aside. She was too far gone to turn back now. I'll just keep manipulating Tony, Ella thought, and soon Sarah will be out of the picture for good. This fateful day, Sarah was out on grocery shopping when she saw Tony and Ella. Sarah's eyes widened as she saw Tony laughing with Ella at the grocery store. She felt a sharp pain in her chest, like a dagger had been thrust into her heart. Tony, who is this? Sarah asked, trying to keep her voice steady. Tony's eyes darted back and forth like a trapped animal. Oh, just a co-worker, he stammered. Ella, sensing the tensions, smiled sweetly at Sarah. Hello, Sarah. Long time no see. Sarah's eyes narrowed. Ella, what are you doing with my husband? Ella shrugged. Just helping him with some work things. Sarah, don't be paranoid. But Sarah knew better. She remembered Ella from school, how she always seemed to be lurking in the shadows, waiting for an opportunity to strike. Tony, how do you know Ella? Sarah asked, her voice low and steady. Tony hesitated, unsure of what to say. We worked together on a project. Sarah gave him a long, piercing look. Not important, she muttered, turning to leave. But Ella's voice stopped her. Sarah, wait. We need to talk. Sarah turned back, her eyes flashing with anger. What do you want, Ella? Ella smirked. I just want to let you know that Tony and we are very close, like close, you know. Sarah's eyes widened in shock. You are lying. Ella shrugged. Am I? Go and ask Tony. Tony shifted uncomfortably, avoiding Sarah's gaze. Ella, stop it! But Sarah knew the truth. She saw the guilt written all over Tony's face. You are going to regret this, Ella. Sarah hissed, turning to leave. Ella laughed. I'm shaking in my boots, Sarah. But Sarah knew she wasn't going to let Ella get away with this. She was going to fight for her marriage, for her children, and for her dignity. As she walked away, Sarah muttered to herself, this is not over, Ella, not by a long shot. Sarah sat her children, Tammy and Lily, down in the living room. the sound of rain pouring outside like a symphony of sorrow. But Sarah's heart was determined to beat stronger than the pain. "My children, we must leave this house," Sarah said, her voice firm but gentle. "We deserve a better life, a happy life." Tammy's eyes widened in fear. "But what about Daddy?" Sarah took a deep breath, the weight of her decision settling in. "Daddy needs to find himself, my child. But we cannot wait for him. We must move on." Lily, sensing her mother's strength, nodded bravely. "Okay, Mommy, we will be strong." Sarah smiled, a fierce determination burning within her. "Yes, my loves, we will rise above this. We will find a new home, a new life." And so Sarah reached out to her friend Lisa, a woman of wisdom and kindness. Lisa listened as Sarah poured out her heart, her voice shaking with emotions. "My sister, I am really here for you," Lisa said, her voice warm and comforting. "We'll find a new place for you and the children. You will get a job and you will thrive again." Sarah felt a weight lift off her shoulders as Lisa's words washed over her. She knew she was not alone. She knew she could start anew. "Thank you, Lisa," Sarah said, her voice filled with gratitude. "I will not let Tony's mistake define me. I will rise above." And with that, Sarah began her journey to freedom, her children by her side, and Lisa's guidance lightened the way. With Lisa's help, Sarah and her children moved into a small but cheerful apartment. It wasn't big, but it was warm and dry, and they were finally safe from the mud and the rain. Sarah started a new job at Lisa's company, and for the first time in a long time, she felt hopeful about the future. Tammy and Lily began going to a new school where they made new friends and played happily. "Mommy, I like our new school," Lily said one day after school, smiling brightly. Sarah hugged her. "I'm glad, sweetheart. We are going to be just fine." Sarah worked hard at her job, and soon her boss noticed her dedication and promoted her to a better position. Sarah was proud of herself for creating a better life for her family. While Sarah was away rebuilding her life, Tony's world crumbled around him like a house of cards in a storm. Ella, the woman he thought loved him, revealed her true nature when he saw that Tony had nothing to his name anymore. "Tony, you fool," Ella spat out, her voice dripping with venom. "You thought I loved you. Hey! I only use you to get what I want." Tony's eyes widened in horror as he realized his mistake. "Ella, what have you done? Why did you trick me into signing away my property?" Ella shrugged, her expression cold. "I've moved on, Tony. You were just part of the plan, and now you are nothing to me." Tony felt like he'd been punched in the gut. He stumbled backward, his mind reeling. "No, Ella, please, you can't do this to me." But Ella just laughed, a harsh, mocking sound. "Watch me, Tony. I've got what I want, and I'm leaving you with nothing." Tony's eyes fell on the papers in his hands, the document that had sealed his fate. He felt a wave of despair washed over him. "What have I done?" he whispered, his voice shaking. "What have I done to myself, to Sarah, to my children?" But it was too late for regret. Tony was left to face the consequences of his choices, alone and broken. He tried to reach out to Sarah, hoping for forgiveness, but she was too far gone. "Tony, I'm so sorry," Sarah said, her voice firm but gentle. "But I've moved on. I've built a new life and I can't look back." Tony felt a pang of sorrow, knowing he'd lost the love of his life. "Please, Sarah," he begged, "just listen to me. I know I was wrong, but I loved you. I love our children." But Sarah just shook her head, her eyes filled with tears. "I loved you, Tony, but you threw that away. Now I have to think of myself and our children. Goodbye, Tony. I hope everything falls in place for you." Sarah thrived in her new environment. Her kids were doing well in school and she was succeeding in her career. One sunny afternoon, while walking in the park, Sarah ran into Ella. Ella looked at Sarah, surprised by her happiness and strength. I didn't expect you to be doing so well, Ella said, feeling a pang of regret. Sarah looked at Ella calmly. You tried to hurt me, but I choose to be happy instead. I hope you find peace, Ella. With those words, Sarah walked away, leaving Ella to think about her actions. Tony realized he had made many mistakes. He wished he could take back his actions and be a better person. He reached out to Sarah, asking to see his children one last time. Sarah, always kind, agreed and took the kids to visit him at the hospital. Tony looked at Tammy and Lily with tears in his eyes. I'm sorry for everything. I love you both so much, he said softly. Sarah held his hand, offering him forgiveness. We forgive you, Tony. I hope you find peace. Tammy and Lily stood by their mother, feeling both sad and strong. After the visit, Tony developed high blood pressure, which made him pass away while sleeping, leaving behind a lesson about choices and forgiveness. Sarah chose not to attend his funeral, believing her final conversation with him was enough closure. Instead, she focused on the future, determined to provide a life filled with love and happiness for her children. With hard work and determination, Sarah continued to succeed in her job. Her family found joy in the little things, like playing at the park and sharing bedtime stories. One night, as Sarah tucked Tammy and Lily into bed, she felt a sense of peace. Mom, are we happy now? Tammy asked, snuggling under his blanket. Yes, sweetheart, Sarah replied, smiling warmly. We are happy and safe, and that's all that matters. Ella's life took a turn for the worse after her encounter with Sarah. She had thought she would be happy after getting what she wanted from Tony, but instead, she felt empty and alone. Her plans had backfired, and now she had nothing. One day, as Ella was crossing the street, she was hit by a car. She was rushed to the hospital, but her injuries were severe. As she lay in her hospital bed, Ella thought about her life and all the bad choices she had made. She realized that her actions had hurt many people, especially Sarah. Ella knew she needed to make things right, so she asked to see Sarah. Sarah agreed to visit her, feeling a mix of emotions. When Sarah walked into the hospital room, she saw Ella lying there, looking weak and sad. Sarah, Ella whispered, her voice shaky. I am so sorry for everything I've done. I was wrong to hurt you and your family. Please, can you forgive me? Sarah looked at Ella for a long time. She thought about everything that had happened. She remembered the pain, but she also remembered how far she had come. She had rebuilt her life and she was happy now. I forgive you, Ella, Sarah said softly. I hope you find peace. Ella smiled weakly, relieved to have Sarah's forgiveness. She closed her eyes, feeling a sense of calm that she hadn't felt in a long time. After Ella passed away, Sarah reflected on her journey. She had been through so much, but she had come out stronger. She had built a new life for herself and her children, and she was proud of the woman she had become. So guys, we have come to the end of Sarah's story. And now, here is a question for you. Do you think Sarah was right not to go to Tony's funeral? If it were you, would you have attended? Please let us know what you think in the comment section below. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this one. And please share this story with your family and your friends who might need it. Till I see you again in my next story. Goodbye.